Hello, my name is Antoinette, and I'm from the United States, more specifically, New York City. So today I'm going to answer a question that was asked by David. And David's question is, what's the difference between transitive and intransitive verbs? Okay, so the good news is that although this sounds hard to understand, it's actually not too difficult to understand. So, transitive is related to the word transition, which means to change or to connect to another idea. So, transitive verbs connect to an action and an object. So again, transitive verbs connect the action to an object. So if you're familiar with grammar, you know that a basic sentence must include a subject and a verb. And some sentences have a subject and a verb and a direct object. So transitive verbs must have a direct object. So you have a subject, a verb, and a direct object. So I will give you some examples of transitive verbs. Teach. Teach is a transitive verb. I teach the class. So the subject is I, the verb is teach, and the direct object is class. I push the door. Okay, push is a transitive verb because the direct object is the door. So I push the door, I is the subject, push is the transitive verb, and door is the direct object. I praise the students. I is the subject. Praise is a transitive verb because the direct object is the students. Are you starting to get it? Okay. He melts the cheese. So he is the subject, melts is the transitive verb, and the cheese is the direct object. I hold the bag. I is the subject, hold is the transitive verb, and the direct object is the bag. Pull the wagon, or I pull the wagon, right? I am the subject, pull is the transitive verb. What am I pulling? The wagon. The wagon is the direct object. He will drive the car today. He will drive the car today. So he is the subject. Drive is a transitive verb because the direct object is the car. He will drive the car today. Okay, so two more examples. We squeeze the oranges to make orange juice. So we is the subject, squeeze is the transitive verb, and the direct object is oranges. We squeeze the oranges to make orange juice. And the last one is draw a picture. So if I tell you, draw a picture of your family. Draw is a transitive verb, and draw a picture is, the picture is the direct object. There's no subject because we can guess I'm talking to you. So you is the subject, right? So if I tell you, draw a picture, draw is a transitive verb, and picture is the direct object. So once again, the transitive verb connects an action to a direct object. On the other hand, an intransitive verb does not need a direct object. As a matter of fact, there is no direct object with intransitive verbs. So that's the only difference between transitive verbs and intransitive verbs, is transitive verbs are followed by what? A direct object. And intransitive verbs are not followed by a direct object. As a matter of fact, in, right? The prefix in means not. So I'll give you some examples of intransitive verbs. I agree. I agree. That's a full sentence. Why? Because there's a subject and a verb, but there's no direct object. So that is an intransitive verb. In this case, agree is the intransitive verb. I agree. I cried when I heard the news. I cried when I heard the news. I is the subject and cried is the verb. But there's no direct object. When I heard the news is not a direct object. Or if that's too complicated, simply, I cried yesterday. I cried yesterday. Okay, but there's no action. So, or to make it even more simple, I cried. So cried is the intransitive verb, but there's no direct object. Another example is he doesn't listen. He doesn't listen. Okay, so he is the subject and doesn't listen is the verb phrase, but there's no direct object. There's no noun after listen. There's no action being done. Okay, do you get it? Don't respond. Respond is an intransitive verb because there is no direct object after the verb respond. Don't respond. That is a full sentence, actually. Okay? I'm telling you, don't respond. But there's no direct object. Same thing with don't react. Just don't react. Okay, so react is an intransitive verb because it is not followed by a direct object. The little girl sneezed. So the little girl is the subject and sneezed is the verb, but there's no direct object. Okay, so sneezed is an intransitive verb. It does not transition into a direct object. Birds chirp in the trees. Okay, so birds is the subject, chirp is the intransitive verb because the action is not onto a direct object. The action is not happening to a direct object. In the trees is just telling us where the birds are chirping. But the birds are not doing anything to the trees. So chirp is an intransitive verb. Don't sit there. Don't sit there. Okay, so sit would be an intransitive verb there because there's no direct object. Don't run at the pool. Okay, so run is an intransitive verb because it is not followed by a direct object. It's just saying where you should not run, right? At the pool. Don't run at the pool. Don't panic. Okay, panic is an intransitive verb because it's not followed by a direct object. Let's party. Let's party. Woohoo. Okay, party is an intransitive verb because it's not followed by a direct object. And I'll give you one more example. She's shaking because she's cold. She's shaking because she's cold. Okay, so shaking in this case would be an intransitive verb because it is not followed by a direct object. Okay, so the reason that transitive and intransitive verbs are different is not very difficult to understand. So in conclusion, a transitive verb is followed by a direct object, which is a noun. So a transitive verb connects an action that is happening to the direct object. The direct object receives the action of a transitive verb. On the other hand, an intransitive verb is not followed by a direct object. So I hope that helps, and I'm sure that now you know the difference between transitive and intransitive verbs. And it's my pleasure to help you, and I hope to answer some more of your questions in the near future. Take care. Bye.